Welcome to the Real Aesthetic Podcast, a real deal on like aesthetics and skin.
Oh, we've been rolling this whole time.
He was my gopher.
I'm your host, Alexis Arsenis. We're going to have a good time here. Hey guys, welcome back to the Real Aesthetic Podcast. Today's show is totally different. I'm so excited. Today I have three guests on with me. Behind the camera is my trusted, amazing producer, Nick. And here today is Sarah and Dimitri and their beautiful baby, Leo. Oh, I'm so excited you guys are here. A little bit about them. They are my clients. I was their doula for their beautiful baby's birth. So I figured it would be cool to have an episode to kind of talk about what that looks like, what their experience was like, what information they were told, maybe how I helped them through the process, and you hearing it firsthand versus just kind of, I don't know, just hearing it firsthand, whatever. So welcome to the show, guys.
Yes, so excited to be here.
Oh my God, I can't believe he's here.
I know.
Wasn't your due date like yesterday?
Yesterday was our due date.
And we were born when? 37 weeks, 3 days.
37 weeks, 3 days, January 15th. It was
so crazy.
A complete
At 11:30
shock.
in the morning.
11:30 in the morning.
I know. We were so good on the time too.
Mm-hmm.
I think
So
the coolest thing was I did your prenatal on Monday, and then Tuesday you're like, my water broke, and I was like,
that was the most wild thing.
What?
We had the prenatal meeting with you, and then I wake up at 3 in the morning the next day, and my water broke. It was crazy.
That's amazing. So why don't you tell everyone why you guys decided to get a doula? What kind of made you go in that direction versus not having one?
So it was actually my mother who was the one who was like, you need a doula, because she started explaining to me how the doctors just come in to basically catch the baby like a football.
So true.
At the end, which actually wasn't our total experience at Mount Auburn.
No.
But we'll get into that. But she was like, you need somebody who's going to be able to be there with you and coach you through labor. And she's mentioned how she had a midwife with me and my sister. And I was like, I don't think midwives are like that really anymore. So then we jumped on the internet, did some research, and discovered doulas. And then 2 days after I made the decision to start interviewing doulas, I had a hair appointment with my friend Chanel, and she's like, I had the best doula ever. And she gave me your contact info, and then the rest is history.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then you had interviewed other doulas before too. I know you have like a fun, like, give me what was that like?
So we had already had a couple OB appointments, I think, first.
Can you pull your mic a little
before
bit
we
closer?
signed up
There.
with Alexis as a doula. So we interviewed 2 doulas just by a random Google search. The first one was okay. The second one,
We don't have to list their names, but you can tell us the experience.
we did a Skype call, and she had a cat crawling over her frizzy afro, and she had pronouns all over her website, and she was like 55, like could not relate to her at all.
She called me a birthing person, so that was just
Birthing person was the nail in the coffin. I almost closed the laptop when she said that. And then from there, luckily, we found Alexis through your hairdresser. And then
and when we met, it was pretty cool too. Like it was very chill. You're like, and I didn't know you were looking for a doula when I first met you guys. I thought you were just coming in for an ultrasound.
Oh yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Right.
it wasn't like I even was like teed up to like even present anything to
we
you.
were just meeting each other that first time.
I was just like, hey, let's do this. Like,
and we clicked. Like all 3 of us like got along
yeah,
well.
I didn't call you a
so-
birthing person.
No, you did not.
So technically, okay. So like that's like the weird part about this, right? Is I feel like there's a doula for everybody, right?
Completely.
And I'm not everyone's cup of tea. There are people that are going to be offended when they see this, that I don't refer to you as a birthing person. I don't refer to it as chest feeding. It's breastfeeding.
Right, exactly.
You know, that's my personal preference. And I think that you need to pick the doula that works for you.
100%.
Like the cat lady, she wasn't doing it.
Nope.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
No.
she wasn't delivering. I don't know. Like,
No, it's so true. Like I think you do need to find somebody who you connect with very closely, because
it's an intimate process.
It is. It's so intimate.
It is the most intimate thing ever. And if you can't just be who you are in the moment, then I don't want to have to walk on eggshells, at least from my perspective as a husband, to watch what I say.
And it's different, like being like the husband who doesn't really kind of understand like the physical of like what's going on, and you're kind of trying to be there for your wife, but she's in so much pain, like you don't really know what to do, you kind of feel helpless. You don't want that
100%.
person in the room that's like awkward.
Exactly.
makes it
Yep.
awkward. Like, you don't know what to say. Like, for me, like, you could have said anything and, like, I would have been like, "Okay, let's do
Slip
this."
right off the back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, "Whatever, like,
Yeah.
let's just
Yeah.
go for it." Because the whole
Oh, yeah.
goal was, like, healthy mom and healthy baby,
Mhm.
and you you labored at home for, like, 24 hours.
I know. It was
Almost
crazy.
24 hours.
I think, yeah, it was close to 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I could not have stayed home that long. And my entire family was like, "You need to get to the hospital. You need to get to the hospital." They were all freaking out because
Yep.
my water broke at like 3 in the morning, and I was still at home at like 5 p.m. that night. And they're like,
Mhm.
"Why aren't you at the
But
hospital?"
you let me
Like,
sleep for another 2 hours. Thank God. That was the last good sleep I
Yeah.
had. She goes, "So this
and
this might be
Alexis
it."
too. I was waiting to wake you both up till
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
like
you waited.
I was like, I think-
5:45, I get a phone call, and she's like, "Well," and I'm like, "Why didn't you call me?"
I was like, "I'm sorry, it's so early."
I know.
Unreal.
No, but you guys definitely needed the rest. We both needed the rest in that case,
Yes.
considering
Yeah.
it was a long haul. But
Yep.
you did so, like, your progression was so perfect. I feel like your water broke. We labored at home. I coached
Mhm.
you kind of through what to do, getting in the
Exactly.
tub, doing all the things, bouncing on the ball. And then once we got to the hospital, and I met you guys had got there, what, like maybe 15, 20 minutes before
Yeah,
I did?
you
Yep.
were there
Almost
soon
midnight,
after. It was
right?
almost midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I remember I was texting Mari too, because I was like, "Oh my God, they're going in." She's like, "Are you going in now?" I go, "Yep." I go, because usually we wait to see how far along you are. And
Yeah.
I was just like, "No, I feel like we're going to be like kind of quick." Like,
It was quick.
and when
Once
you
we
showed
got
up
there.
and you were like, what, 4 centimeters and 90% effaced,
Yes.
which
Yep.
is
Yep.
like,
They're like, "You're not going home."
no,
home.
no. Like, you're in, you're
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
But I remember those terms from our initial meeting. Like, you went through all that stuff and then the classes
Yeah.
we took, which was helpful.
So to kind of go over too, I did coach them to take classes. There is a place called Boston Birth Associates. As many of you guys know,
Mhm.
we are partnered with them. We make sure all our doula clients go there, and they actually took 2 classes there. They're infants, what was it, like birth
The
101,
birth 101.
and
yep.
then the breastfeeding class.
Yes.
And I
Yep.
attended both with them. Not a lot of doulas will do that. I do, because I feel like our side comments were gold. I
The
wish they
the
were
private
too.
class was fantastic. We
Yeah.
did
Highly recommend the private class
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Alexis. Yep.
It was great.
Because then you could just be you.
It
And
made
those
it
videos,
fun.
those videos are so. I think I'm still offended because that girl's name was Alexis inside the video, and she was like 100 years old having a kid, and I was like, so
Yeah.
weird. She was like this
Yeah.
tall, skinny woman with this like little guy husband, and I was like, oh,
Completely gray hair.
yeah, like
And
what are
then-
you, 105?
And they showed the whole thing.
and
the
then she
labor.
was in the breastfeeding one, and I'm
Yes,
like, what did you
she-
follow
she
this
came
lady the whole
back.
way through? Like,
Kids breastfeeding on the ground because
Yeah.
she's just sagging.
oh my God.
Unreal. We did learn something though from the class. I
did.
will say.
No, I
No,
think
the classes were great.
I think the classes are good because it kind of gives you enough information to ask questions that you may not have thought to ask before.
yeah.
Yep.
Because like I can tell you a lot of things, but I think if you just don't know what to ask, like sometimes I just don't know what to tell you. Do you know what I mean? Like if
Right.
I'll give you all
Yeah.
the information, but it's like maybe you have something about a question about something particular, and I don't go over it because you didn't ask about it.
But I
So
think one of the great things you said to us too was I was gonna you get emails from the hospital, and
yeah,
I mean we ended up changing hospitals. We can talk about that.
yeah,
But
let's do it.
they want to sign up through the hospital classes, and you encourage us to go to Boston Birth Associates instead.
Yeah.
And I'm happy we decided to
And
do
it
that.
wasn't because we're partnered with Mari. We don't have any sort of
No.
financial incentive, to be truthful. But it's because hospital classes are going to be geared towards what they want, right? Like the
Exactly.
outcome that's best for them. And I think taking a third party class in
Yep.
pretty much anything, I think is always better, because then that way you get like the real deal information, what's available to you, what's not available, and
Mhm.
what you can ask for. I mean, I think changing to Mount Auburn, like shout out to
Oh
Mount
my
Auburn,
God.
guys. It's literally the best
Great
hospital.
experience.
I love it there. Oh, it was amazing.
I cannot tell
Yep.
enough people about how amazing that hospital was.
And they
'Cause
kind of left you alone. Like she came in every hour
They
at the
were just
beginning.
like-
Left us alone.
But
Yep.
that's the other thing too. And I have a lot of
Mhm.
friends because I'm at the age now where everybody's having babies.
Mhm.
And everybody's like, oh, like you go into, and then you're just like alone. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what I've heard. And that's why you need a doula, because
Yeah.
then you're
Yep.
not alone. And
Yeah, you
when
know
you're-
what to do. Can you guys imagine
Yeah.
if you were there by yourself
Oh my
with her
God,
that whole time?
We've
Absolutely
thought about
not. We
that.
talk about that all the time. Like you think, at least from the guy's perspective, I thought like your wife's water breaks and then the baby comes out like a few hours later, but it's a
Mhm.
long, slow process. and you're basically alone for hours on end. So having Alexis there, coaching Sarah through the different movements and keeping her comfortable, and also when she wasn't comfortable, what medications that were available that if she wasn't there, we would have just accepted probably whatever the OB or the nurses
Yeah.
offered us.
They would have given you an epidural first, and that
Yep.
wasn't our goal, right? Our
Right.
goal was we were open-minded, and I think that was what the great thing was about you guys. It wasn't like you were dead set on some like
Right.
unmedicated birth. I think that in the moment you were upset when you had gotten one, but there was no way your body would
Yeah, I
have
looked
progressed.
as I
Yeah.
was going through like the worst contractions.
She's like,
worst
I'm so
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I'm like, what are you sorry for? Like,
Like, you didn't
you
let
serious?
anybody down at
yeah,
all.
Like, I'm so
no. And I
sorry,
like wanted
guys.
to, you were like gonna make me cry. I was like, we've been up for like 26
I'm like rolling on the
hours.
floor, like I'm sorry, I can't take the pain anymore.
And talk about feeling helpless as a husband in that situation. Like there's nothing you can do. And having Alexis there, like offering guidance to me to help console my wife was very helpful, I will say.
Definitely like helping you, and you were such a good partner though. Like you
Appreciate
had like
that.
the
He's the
hip
best.
squeezes on point.
Yep.
If you needed something, he was like, okay, here's your water. Like I didn't
He
even
was on
need
top
to
of
like
it.
and it was cool because you were involved. Because
Yeah.
I've had clients where the dad was like literally brought like a TV and played video
Oh
games.
my god. Stop.
Like I can't
Yeesh.
imagine.
I
Can
would
you
like,
imagine
I'd take
if
a
he
bat.
was just
I would
igno-
take a bat to the TV.
The divorce papers would be waiting at the kitchen table.
She'd
That
be
would
like,
not be
"Yep,
okay.
you're done.
No, you're gone.
Like, but they do. There's some people that are just not, or they're just they can't they can't stomach it because
Yeah.
it is like a lot. There's a lot of like blood and gross stuff after birth, like you saw, like our placenta that would make some people fall
He
like
thinks
pass out
this
apart.
stuff is so cool though. Like he
Well, I think it's because you're a med
To
device.
each
He's
their
a
own.
med
Yeah,
device,
just the
yeah.
industry you're in. But I can see that people address it in their own way.
And I think the cool thing for me always is like seeing the progression from like excited to like soon to be parents. And then all of a sudden, like you get close and like you see the stress and you're like, that you guys
Yep.
are like, holy
Yeah.
shit, I'm about to be a parent.
Yep.
And then it's like delivery. And it's almost like you completely take on this new role and you're like, okay, like I need to be there. Like this is, we're all in. And you pretty much delivered the baby.
I pulled his head out. The doc said glove up, and I pulled his head out.
I loved the moment where she was pushing and we could see baby's head, and it's like obviously like this little tiny little tub of his head, and he's thinking that it's this like it's gonna come out this big, like he thinks it's tiny, and all of a sudden this baby's head pops out and his face. I wish I took a video.
I wish we captured that
It
moment.
didn't
was-
pop out. It literally, it was a little bird head, and then it kind of conformed, and the skull got smushed, and then it just popped out. And I was like, holy shit, that's actually a normal size head.
And you were like, oh my God. And it was so like you weren't grossed out and you immediately were just going for it. And I think Dr. Daly, he was
Oh my god.
Unreal.
Shout out to him.
he was
because
the best.
it's so cool.
I want him to deliver like any other children I have because
Yes.
Yep.
he was so chill. And whenever he gave me that look, that was like, Sarah, put your hands down. I
that
was like,
insane. Yeah.
this is the coolest moment. And you were like, what do you mean put your hands down?
I
And I
was-
was like, put your hands down, catch him.
You were like, pull your baby out. And I was like,
I was like,
what? I was like, pull my baby out. And you were like, do it. And I was like, okay. And I just reached in
She
there.
literally reaches down, pulls this baby out, put it on. She goes, I did it. I was like, it was the
Craziest
you know,
shit I've
every
ever seen.
person I've told about how Dimitri pulled the head out and then I pulled the body out, they were like, that was not an option at the hospital.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yep.
was like, that was not even mentioned that we could possibly do that. But Dr. Daly was like,
He
he
was
was
so
encouraging
chill.
it. He was
He was like, yeah, let's
like,
go.
let's do this.
I told your dad I pulled the head out. He goes, I don't want to hear that shit. Don't tell me that.
Yeah, my dad was like, I do not want to hear that.
Your mom probably was all over it.
Oh yeah, my
She
mom
loved
thought
it.
it was the coolest thing ever.
Well, I think that was one of my other like favorite moments was like FaceTiming your mom. And like
Yeah.
it was on me first. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
are you ready? And she was like, yes, yes.
Probably
I love
crying,
this.
yeah.
She's crying. And I was like, okay, here you go. And she like just sobbed. And it was
Yeah.
the cutest moment. But just to go back, we changed hospitals. But I want you to talk about like why.
So originally we were going to Beth Israel,
Yeah.
and we decided that originally before we met you,
Yeah.
because we were just like, oh, if something goes wrong, like you want to be at the big name hospital, like
yeah.
Mount Auburn was a small. We didn't know anything about it really. Dimitri works there sometimes, and but we just figured like, oh, if I need a C-section or something goes wrong, like you want to be at
The best hospital.
the best one. Like I'm like, oh, they'll transport me to that hospital anyway. But then as my pregnancy went on, they kept telling me, "Oh, you're so low risk. You're low risk. Like you're the easiest patient ever."
And you were.
Because I had nothing wrong. Like the whole
Yeah.
pregnancy, it was super smooth the whole time. So then as time went on and we met you, you were like, you should maybe consider Mount Auburn, like, but you didn't want to push us to
Yeah.
change. But so as we did more research, we found out that Mount Auburn was like a little more holistic in their
Yeah.
approaches
Less
with moms.
interventions, for
Less
sure.
interventions. They have one of the lowest C-section rates
Yep.
in Boston. So after we met with one of the providers there, we were like, okay, yeah, we're switching. And it was like the best decision
I
we
also
made.
didn't like when you sent me. Well, I like
Oh,
that you sent me the
yes.
The
consent
forms.
form,
Oh
Yeah.
my
and the
God.
consent form wasn't
It's like it was a
consent.
consent book. It
Yeah,
was a
like
book.
It was
here's
a-
a book, and I'm gonna consent to every
Everything.
single intervention.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I just didn't like that. It gave me this bad feeling, and nothing against like BI or anything. I mean, it's a great hospital, but
Sure.
I just feel like consenting to things in stages
Right.
is makes me feel a little bit more comfortable versus like signing on and then all of a sudden it's like you have free range.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Like
and
free
that's
range of my
yeah,
body.
that's
Like, and
the
I just
other
didn't really
thing.
like that.
It was so much information in the consent forms, and that's another reason. Like they just hand it to you at your I think I was like 30 weeks, and they were like, sign this and bring it back, and I was like,
Yeah.
And most
okay.
people probably do, just
Most
not even
people
think it
probably
twice.
just sign it, but I
Yeah.
was like, you know what, I'm gonna send this to Alexis and be like, is this normal? Like,
Yeah.
do
And
all
I had
hospitals
never
do this?
seen like, and I've done like quite a few births. Like I even consulted with Mari. I was like, hey, since when are they giving out like
Yeah.
booklets to be like,
Right.
I'm going to consent to a C-section. I'm going to consent to a episiotomy. I'm going to consent to this.
Med students.
Yeah, med students, everything. I personally don't love the idea of a million med students being in the room.
Right.
Agreed.
I think that our experience at Mount Auburn was great because there wasn't any students, but if there was, I feel like it would have been handled nicely. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like I feel like there's
More
such
intimately there.
yeah, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been like 5 people like just staring at you like trying to push out a baby and
Right.
like felt awkward. I felt like they would have
Yep.
been like involved. What was different for me is at most other births, I always hold one of mom's legs. And at Mount Auburn, they had 2 nurses, which was really cool. So it allowed me to kind of like be near your head, talk to you,
Yeah.
coach you through it, help you count your pushes.
Mm-hmm.
And usually the nurses like take over counting and they have your own way of doing it. And it was really cool that it was like our way, like
Yep.
the way it worked for you.
Exactly. That's one of the other reasons we chose to switch to Mount Auburn was because we talked to a bunch of people, did a lot of research online, and everyone says how it's like the most doula friendly
Oh my God.
hospital, and it totally was.
It was
Because
amazing.
I'm sure there's hospitals you go to and they're like not accepting, like they're like what, like
So they
a little
immediately
less.
have this like negative look on it because they're
Right.
saying like, oh, here's this crunchy chick
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
coming in here, gonna tell her not to do this or do this. It's gonna make my job harder. Like our goal is not to make the nurse's job harder. It's really to make it easier. You know, she
Right.
doesn't have to check on you as much. Obviously, if we see signs of things that are happening that, you know, maybe put you or baby in distress, like we're gonna call for help. We're not gonna just
Yep.
we're not medical. We're not taking their place by any means.
Right.
But I think that some people confuse like doulas as this like crunchy kind of talk you out of things, but I didn't really talk you out of anything that because
we
they
didn't get that vibe.
offered really good advice. They,
Mhm.
you know, the medications that they had offered you first wasn't a bad option. You got that medicated rest
Mm-hmm.
for a little while. And then when you hit the what was it, 28-hour mark?
I know. I made a long time, and then eventually it
It
like
was just too much.
it was too much, and
But
I
you're-
think the exhaustion.
yeah.
You get to a point where you're
Well,
just like,
your body's not going to progress. Like if you get to a point where you're just not sleeping
right.
and you have no active rest, your body's not going to get to the point where we can progress and meet a baby. And pushing takes a lot of work. I mean,
yeah.
Mhm.
it's a lot out of you're an
But honestly-
exception and
Unless
only
you do
push for
F45
45
every day.
minutes. Like
The pushing, I tell people, I'm like, that wasn't even like the worst part. I feel like that's the part I was the most scared of, was like pushing.
yeah,
Cause like
you were so scared. You're like, Alexis, I'm so scared. I'm like, don't be scared.
I'm so scared. Like you hear people like they're gonna poop on the table. Like
Yeah, no,
all
I was
these
like fully
things. I'm
ready
like-
to be the poop police. Like
Alexis
real quick.
wants to see everything, by the way.
Yeah,
This
I
is-
like want to be in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah,
Let me help.
I was like terrified of the pushing part, but that was like
I feel
it was almost like it's like you know the end is near, so like it's
Yeah.
almost easier. I'd say like when you hit like the 8 centimeter mark, like I did right when I decided to get the epidural, that was like the most pain.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, and you waited to get the key for you is
I
that
think
you
that was the
waited to
key.
get your epidural. You got that active rest. It allowed your
Yes.
body to progress, and then we were able to meet a baby.
Well,
And
that
I will
was
say
yeah.
without your guidance and, like, discussing
Oh
that
my God, yeah.
beforehand, if we didn't have your support, Sarah probably would have gotten an epidural when she was, like, 3, 4 centimeters.
That's what I
'Cause you
tell
would have went in
people. I
early.
tell
Yeah.
people this too, that like I think I was able to progress naturally so long because of the support we had with you. And if nobody coached us through that, like I would have just been like,
Mhm.
all right, give me that epidural. And then that's when they start the Pitocin and the interventions. And a lot of people, I think, just get scared.
Mhm.
They don't have the right coaching, the right support. So they just get the epidural as soon as they
Yeah.
can. And then that's when things start going kind of the wrong way.
Yeah, because I
Yep.
think what happens too is people get scared, right?
Yeah,
You
it's
and
scary.
you wanna believe that the nurses and the doctors have your best interest. And it's not that they're trying to do anything negative, right? It's just like a
They're
birth's
not
a
there to
business.
they're
They're
not there
not
to
there to be
hold
your
your hand.
yeah,
They
No.
no,
don't
like
care.
they want you
Yeah.
to pump them out, get you in
Yes.
mom and baby unit. Like we got another
Yep.
baby we got to deliver. It's a business, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
and then you have to think about it. Like the more interventions you do, the more money they
Mr.
make,
Moneybags.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Every OB appointment we went to from whenever we started, I don't know, 3, 4 months until 8, 9 months, it was like a 10-minute sit down with the OB. They come in, they measure your belly, quick fetal heart rate check, and then boom, they're gone. But not before they ask you to get your flu shot and all the other
yeah.
COVID vaccines. But they tell you nothing about what the birth is like or what to expect about labor. I never heard
Nothing.
one thing.
They don't say anything to you. Like
And I
you're
think that's wrong.
nothing. It's
It's
wrong.
bad.
If
It's
you
bad.
go into okay, this I tell everyone this. When you get married, do you get engaged and then get married the next day?
No.
No.
No,
You
yeah.
plan a wedding, right?
Right.
Like we talk to vendors, we get people together, we figure it out.
Mhm.
Why do we take such pride in that event in
Uh-huh.
life, but we don't take that same amount of effort and preparation
Right.
for having a baby? Like your whole life is going to change. Like
It's
your
so
body's
true.
going to change. Your attitude's going to change. You're probably going to
Mhm.
lose your hair after. Like shitty extensions in after, like whatever. You're gonna have all these things happen. It would
Yeah.
make sense to prepare for. And for me, like when I had my first daughter, like knew nothing.
No, you know
Yep.
I only
nothing.
became a doula because of what happened to me, and I was like, no one's ever going through that again. Like people need a coach because this is ridiculous. So I think that having someone there to kind of coach you through the process, I think it makes it easier.
It
You know what to
100%.
100%.
expect. It's
Yeah.
a lot easier going into something when you're like, okay, I know this is gonna suck, but it's not gonna be that bad.
Mhm.
That's what like I said, I have a lot of friends who are pregnant right now and going through this. And I'm like, you just need to everyone's so scared of
Mhm.
birth. Like everyone's always so terrified. Like you never hear
Mhm.
somebody who's like, I'm not that scared. It's gonna be the first time.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I'm like, birth doesn't need to be scary. Like after
No.
going through it with having my doula by my side, I'm like, it doesn't need to be scary.
No.
But people are so scared because nobody talks about
I
what the
think that
process
they're
is.
nervous of like the labor itself. And I
Yes.
think that they're nervous about pain. And now with
Yes.
C-sections on the rise, they think that a C-section
It's
is easier.
A lot of
Mhm.
people I've heard
They
say that
elect
they
them.
would just rather have a C-section. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that
no.
recovery is just terrible.
I've had 2 of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
And it's way more difficult. It's even more difficult when you have a baby at home
Mm.
and then you have another
Oh
C-section
my God.
Mhm.
because you can't lift anything. So now you have a little toddler or however, I mean in my case, my daughter was 9 months
Oh
when I
my
had
God.
when I had Sophia. So like I got pregnant
Jesus.
right away. They're 14 months apart, right? Okay, so maybe she was like a year and something. But it's a lot. Like
Mhm.
you can't lift up one, you can't do the other, you
Yeah.
can't go up the stairs, you can't do this. There's a lot of things that you can't do. So I think that people look at it like as it's easier. A C-section is the only surgery that we get ever that they cut 7 layers of you open, and then they're
It's
like,
crazy.
"Here's Tylenol."
Yeah.
What the hell is a Tylenol gonna do for me?
Yeah,
You just
seriously.
like rip me open, then you take your hands and you press on my belly. Remember, I warned you
Oh
about
my
that
God.
too.
Yeah, you did warn me about. Nobody tells you
The
that
frontal
either.
massage.
They don't
Pushing
they
on the
don't
play
tell you.
button?
Like you probably didn't even notice.
She
Like
Didn't
came
notice.
in right after and she had to push on her belly to like see how much she was bleeding. And
Oh.
like if she had like a gush of blood to kind
it
of like
hurt
check
like a
everything.
bitch.
Oh, I think it
Oh, I didn't
hurts
see
worse
that.
than having the baby.
It was almost worse than
Oof.
pushing out the baby. I
Yeah.
was like, what is this? But yeah, nobody the doctors don't tell you that. That's what we were
No, the
saying.
nurse is just like, I'm gonna push on your belly, and this might cause a little bit of,
And
it
I
might
was
cause a
like,
little pain.
ow,
Oof.
that really hurts.
Didn't even know.
But I mean, you have your baby on your chest, so like you're
Doesn't
just,
even matter.
it doesn't even matter. You're past it at that point.
And he came
but
out so perfect. Can we
Yeah,
just like take a minute? Like, look at this baby.
he's an
There he is.
angel.
He's an angel. He came out like perfect.
He didn't even have like a big cone head.
Oh my
which was-
God, they were so worried about a cone head, guys.
And I was also worried about him being blue. Like when we watched
Yep.
the birth video in the birth class,
Well, that's
Dimitri kept saying that our
normal.
baby was going to come out looking like a Smurf.
Oh yeah.
Well, they do
He
come
did
out
not.
looking like a little funny.
Little blue
They're
and
a little
purple.
blue and purple because they're not getting their oxygen from like
Yeah.
breathing through their mouth at
Yeah.
right away.
But at least I was prepared for that. If he was,
Yes.
Yeah.
He came
and
out
you were
looking
prepared
tan,
for a
and then I
cone.
was like,
yeah.
I'm good.
He
This
came
is
out like
great.
a Greek god.
little Greek god.
Alexander the
Greek
Great
god.
popped out and he was great.
By the way, I told all my friends to get a doula, all my guy friends.
I
And
love
at
it.
first, they called me a pussy, but then at the end, I was like,
I was like,
tell
dude,
me all you want. Sarah had a great time, and he came out perfectly, and
and
it was
there was
smooth.
a point
so.
too where like you were so tired. I was like, I got her. Like,
Yeah,
go
you
take
were
a
able
nap.
to
Yeah,
take,
Alexis
like-
let me sleep on the cot, and she put a bath towel over me to
Well, there
sleep
was no blankets.
because I had no blanket for 4 hours.
And the nurse was like, no one was anywhere to be
Yeah.
found. And I was like, okay, well, we don't have
It was
another
like-
blanket.
It was like 3 a.m. And then I look over, Alexis is sitting up, sleeping in
like
the
a
chair,
horse, just like
Probably snoring.
yeah.
sitting
completely
upright,
upright.
completely asleep.
Not completely asleep. Just like all
Just
I needed
like-
was an hour. I
Yeah.
just needed an hour. Baby was almost here. I was like, we have
Well,
1
I
hour.
was finally
you had
able
just
to
got your
sleep.
epidural.
Yeah, that was the best.
So us doulas don't sleep like on the job. I don't.
She was sitting
like-
upright. With
I
One
was
eye open.
sitting in the chair, like completely rested, and I was like, okay, I have like 15 minutes. I've been up since 3 a.m. like the last morning. Like I'm totally good.
With 2 toddlers of your own at home.
Oh
That's
my
like
God.
that's insane.
I have such a good support system. Like my mother-in-law stayed at my house. Like everyone was super cool. And even the night that I was going to do your overnight, I was
Oh yeah.
and when I was texting you,
Yeah.
I was in the car. My mother-in-law was in the car. She's like, I'm going to stay over. Like you go to Sarah and Dimitri. She's
That's so
Oh.
cute.
the babies will be fine. And I was like, okay. She's
That's
like, how
nice.
many overnights are you doing? Okay, I'm gonna stay over these days.
You need that as a doula because
you need that support. And that's why I think I'm a little bit more bougie than most doulas.
yeah, I
like,
call you our bougie doula.
My wife is bougie.
yeah.
So this worked out
I need the
perfectly.
bougie doula.
I wanted
Yeah.
to you also have like postpartum. Well, when I do doula services, it's not just like we help you with the baby and that's it. We do ongoing care, and we also include some fun services for mom downstairs. But we're gonna give Dimitri a service too because I feel like he was such a
Ooh.
good partner. He needs like a little glow up, you know.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we include in the package like things for mom and dad to kind of feel better about themselves because I feel like after you have a baby, you kind of look. You guys look really good, by the way. It's like kind of annoying because I
Really,
did
because
not.
this is the first time I've like blow dried my hair in like 2 weeks.
She's like, this is the first time I like showered for 5 minutes.
No,
by myself.
literally. But thank you.
Well, it's
I
tough to
remember
get
when-
anything done when
Well-
you change a diaper and then you're like, he's good. And then all of a sudden he just shits again. So you're
Yeah.
like, I have no time to do anything anymore.
I know, and I feel like it's like they know as soon as you swaddle them, they're like,
No, it's so true.
and you're like, thanks.
There's been so many times where we're like, all right, we fed him, we changed him, and then we like wrap him in his swaddle, and then we hear it, and we're like, are you kidding me?
And then you have to start the whole process again because
then
by
you
the
have to
time
s-
you're done
then
changing
it
him, he's
wakes them
hungry
up.
again.
And
It's-
it
yeah,
wakes him
it's
up.
over.
And
yeah,
you're like,
it's such a
It's this ongoing process, and
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that sometimes it's good to get treatments done or something done for
Yes.
yourself after, just to make you feel like human again. And
Yes.
Yep.
you know, there is more than just you taking care of this baby, even though it might not
Mhm.
feel like that right now because he's what 3 weeks old.
3 weeks
3 weeks.
tomorrow. Yeah,
I can't believe he's already 3 weeks.
I know.
I feel like we just did this yesterday.
I know. And I just can't. Yeah, his due date yesterday. I'm like, that's so crazy.
I know when you posted that, I was like, little shit.
I
I had this
know.
whole plan.
You don't know
So-
how many plans
oh.
I had for the month
So-
of January.
I was so excited because when I took them on, I was like, we're going to do this different. I'm going to bring like a cute Polaroid camera. I got like an embroidered new, and it just happened to be green. And then I found out later Sarah's like favorite color is green. Everything in her house,
Everything is
accented
green.
gold and green. Like it's
Everything is
totally
green.
me.
Yep.
And so I get this like green sweatshirt, not knowing that that's her favorite color. Get all this cute stuff, twinkle lights, all this stuff in my cart. Order it on Monday. Then she goes into labor. None of it gets shipped till like Saturday. I'm like, well, the baby's already here. So
Sarah's already home, like recovered by then.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
Jesus.
like, so I got all the stuff in the mail, and I was like, oh, like I really wanted to use that.
The next
stuff.
birth.
Use it for the next
you know.
client.
And
Yeah.
I will go. Like if you guys move, I'm totally hot. I'm following. and
Yeah.
we're having baby number 2 together.
Yes.
We'll pay for your flight down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth it.
We'll make
Can
it
I
like
just
a
add
trip.
one thing too
Yeah.
as the husband? So
Yeah, I want to hear your side. Sorry, we're like laughing and talking about, but
no,
give me
it's
the
okay.
dad side of this.
I mean, the only thing I guess people think of with doulas, at least I thought it was just for the wife, but I think it's equally as much for the husband too.
Yeah.
And like granted, I didn't text you at all. Like you and Sarah had texted right up until like, I don't know, the week or two before
Yeah.
birth. But like when Sarah's in active labor, when she started going into labor, that's when I started texting
Yeah.
you directly.
Yeah.
And you were telling me what to do to help console her, which without that, I would probably have just like patted your back a couple times.
You're okay.
Good job,
Good
honey.
job.
But like she
Taking it like a champ.
right, you got this. A little slap on the ass. Yeah. No, but like we got the yoga ball. So we were doing the hip movements that we practiced before, had some music going. When it really got bad, you told me, oh, like, why don't you make a bath? So we got Sarah in the bath and that helped you out for like an hour.
Yeah.
And you guys were so afraid. You're like, what about infection? I'm like, you're not going to get an infection in your tub. Like, you're good.
Yeah.
Go in
Oh,
water.
yeah. I was like, just get in there. Like, this thing's
Like-
clean. I bleached it yesterday.
Yeah.
I bleached it again
I
that
was going
night
to say,
and
that
rinsed it
night,
over.
you told me, you were
Yeah.
like, I cleaned everything just in case you had to go in. I'm like, okay.
Clean fucking everything in the house. I was freaking out. But
House is spotless, by the way. This house is literally spotless.
He's a little crazy.
take pride in it.
You
Yep.
should. The second I woke him up at 5:30 in the morning and was like, I think I'm in labor. He like levitated out of bed, like started freaking out. He jumped in the car at like 6 a.m. and brought the car to the car wash and started vacuuming the car.
What is wrong?
That was like his first reaction.
Every guy copes differently.
He's like, I gotta bring your car to get cleaned. I was like, okay.
Oh my God. If you saw how disgusting my car is right now. Oh, it's like, I'm going to take it to get detailed because it's so gross. I remember when I first had my kids, I was like, my kids are never going to eat in my car. Now I'm like, shut up. Here's a banana.
I know. I feel like that's what we say. We're like, oh, like we're never gonna let them eat in the car or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
No
you know.
screens, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You just do your best, I guess.
So I think that the no screens thing is huge. I think that, and you're going to
Agreed.
notice that
Yeah.
everyone's a professional on everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's
Trust me.
going to,
Oh,
like, no
yeah.
different than when your water broke. Everyone's like, why aren't you in the hospital? And you're texting
Literally.
me. I'm like, stay home.
I
Like,
ignored everybody. They kept
My
blowing up
mom,
my phone.
Your mom, my mom, your sister,
My
your
friends, everyone.
yeah.
Sarah was like, fuck
And you're
all
like,
you.
are you sure that like I shouldn't go in? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm like dead serious. Like, stay home. Imagine
Yep.
if you were at the hospital from 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
to the next day at noon.
It's
Fuck
insane.
that.
And well, I think the
And
crazy
you wouldn't have had the baby at noon. You probably would have had the baby 2 days later.
literally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like I didn't know that you need to be like very calm and
Mhm.
have like the oxytocin flow in.
Yeah, remember
We
I was
went
like,
to Target.
what? I was like, look
Nobody-
at your wedding
yeah.
pictures. I was
We
like,
went
look
to
at
you
Oh,
were like,
yeah.
go shopping. So I like went to Target.
to
I'm like
Target.
in labor. I'm like shopping at Target.
Just
Target.
holding the baby in because I need some new pillows.
Like, all right. But like nobody tells you that that's how you need to
Yeah.
be when you're in labor. But I think that's
you just need to be calm.
I was
and-
like, everyone's yelling at me to go to the hospital. I'm like, I'm gonna listen to the doula that I paid.
Yeah.
Paid and
Who
hired to
does
trust
this for a
completely.
Who knows what
living.
she's doing? But thank you all
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
your advice.
Because, and I told you were like, and it was really funny. You were saying to me, I got my nails appointment coming up.
Oh, I know.
My hair appointment
had a
coming up. And I
wax.
was, and her wax. and
God.
she
I was so
afraid.
upset about the
and
wax.
when her water broke, because if your water didn't break and you were just like showing signs early,
Yeah.
I would have been like, the esthetician in me would have been like, bring in the wax pot to your house.
Yeah.
And I would have done it for her. But like when her water broke, like you don't want to put anything in
Right.
that area.
Oh, that was a
and it
real
like wasn't
shame.
even bad. It was so funny.
No,
You were
it-
just like so nervous about it. I'm
I
like,
was
dude,
like,
no one's
I
looking
know.
at hair
I'm like,
right now.
you know what the doctors probably see down there? Like,
But Sarah's so
Not-
sweet too.
Not as groomed as you, sweetie. I have seen it all. Not as groomed as you.
I bet you've seen some bushes down there.
Sometimes you can't see the baby's head because it's just
You don't
like-
know what's
Oh,
the head or the
God.
bush. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't know.
That's tough.
You're like, is that the baby's hair?
oh
I
God.
could tell right away. It wasn't that bad.
No.
Another thing too,
Oh my
Alexis
God.
has no filter through the contractions or at home. You're
Mhm.
like, send me a picture of whatever's happening. And Sarah's so
Yeah.
sweet. She's like, oh, I'm embarrassed.
I'm
I
like,
don't want
this
to see
is
it.
so gross.
I'm like, Alexis
oh,
wants
it's
to see this shit. Send me a picture of the blood.
Yeah, well, because okay, so when you're in labor, you have something called bloody show because you are going to bleed a little bit. It might be kind of mucusy. Some people don't know that. So wiping and seeing blood most of the time in your pregnancy is like a no-go, right? Like we don't want to see that. But like during this part of time, like that's what we want to see. So for me, I was like, send me pictures. I want to see all the things.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
and she was so cute. She was like, you could tell when like the picture would be like this tiny little, and she's like, here.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
eventually it got to a point when Dimitri would just grab the phone. He's like, I'm sending this to
I know,
Alex.
and then I'd get them
I was
from
like,
his
"Ooh, that's a good
number.
That's a good one." Alexis would
He's
love
like
that.
really mucusy. Like she wants to see that good shit right there.
Exactly. That's a lot of mucus.
Yeah, like I want to see. Well, because that's how you can tell
Yeah.
like transition.
Well,
and
that's-
then I wanted pictures of your belly, but Sarah's
Oh,
very
yeah.
different than most people because she's such an athlete. So like athletes.
Athlete. I mean, I'm
Okay,
not,
you're like an athlete. You work out every
no
single
one's
day.
ever
You
called
lift.
me an athlete.
Yeah, but like you. Okay, you're athletic.
athlete.
Athletic.
Is that
no?
that
It's
better?
funny because my family all makes fun of me because I'm so like uncoordinated.
Are
and
you really?
I've never played sports or anything,
Sadly,
so I love being
yeah.
called an athlete.
Really?
But I do go to the
Are
gym
you like?
every day.
But I feel like you're good at that because like it's a class and it's structured and you know what to
Yes.
expect.
Yes.
You're not like trying to like.
I throw the remote at her on the couch
She's
just to
like,
test
or
it.
if we
It hits
try
her in
to-
the face, and then she goes, "Oh."
We try to play pickleball or
Wait.
something. I'm like, I can't hit the ball. Like,
So wait, did you play sports? Are you super
He
athletic?
is
I feel like
I'm
you give me,
athletic,
like,
so
he's good at
or, like
everything he
soccer or
does.
something like the Greek
No,
soccer guy.
no baseball.
Wait, yeah, see, okay.
So we got some I guess
Hopefully
like
it'll
skill in the
pass down,
family.
yeah.
But you're
Cool
not
thing
that
about
bad.
Dimitri is our grandparents actually know each other. Our yayas know each other. We're both
Mhm.
Greek. We went to like the same church, which was so
St.
random.
George.
So crazy.
St. George and Lynn.
Yeah, but like, who would have thought that? That's
So
so
random.
random. When I showed my
So
yaya
random.
the pictures of the baby, she was like, "There's a good Greek boy," and I was like,
Leonidas.
"Yeah." She was like,
Leonida.
"Leonides."
Yeah.
Like Leonides. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
oh my
she
God.
probably says it the right way, the Greek way.
With the
Yeah.
TH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I
You
feel
have
like
to.
people are like American people are gonna be like Leonidas.
Yes.
Like,
That's the vibe we get every time. They go, "What's
Yeah.
his name?" Leonidas. They go, "Oh." I'm like, "Leo. It's Leo."
Just say Leo.
well, I think
Fucking
it's funny because I
Americans.
remember like friends of mine asking me like, "Oh, what are they naming their baby?" And I was like Leonidas, and they're like,
They're like,
"Oh."
oh.
I'm like, in Greek it's like Leonides. It's like a name.
It's
Yeah,
sexier
yeah.
in Greek, I
Yeah,
think.
it's
Yeah.
like, well, people could call you Jimmy.
Jimmy James.
That's what they called his grandfathers. Jimmy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, but you're like,
But his
Dimitri.
name's Dimitri. I never understood that.
because
Yeah.
that's
Greek
the
people.
that's like the
I'm like
Con-
Dimitri,
yeah.
Jimmy. I'm like,
It's gonna be funny when you introduce your son to like elementary school. As I'm Sarah Ann.
Yeah.
And this is my son, Leonidas Dimitrios Kritikos. The teacher's gonna be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
I like so you lucked out because like I married like the Irish, so like Rob's
Yeah.
last name is Deering. All I wanted was these big Greek names, and then all of us like,
Deering.
Like-
yeah.
what am I gonna
Hercules
Aspasia-
Deering.
Yeah, Deering. Like what? That's gonna sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I went with like the moderate Greek names, like Sophia.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can do it with Deering. It
Neutral.
sounds good.
Yeah.
But you couldn't be like Aspasia Deering. Like it should
Yeah.
sound like a disease. Like I can't.
Dimitra Deering. Yeah.
Dimitra.
That's
Jesus.
actually cute.
Dimitra?
Dimitra Deering is actually kind of
That's
cute.
actually kind of cute. I can mess with that.
Didi? That's not
Yeah.
bad.
Dee
No,
Dee.
because my mom's name is Darlene, so hers Dee Dee. So I don't know if I'd want to.
Oh, yeah.
She wants it to be Darlene Deering. If I have a girl.
Darlene. Oh,
That's cute.
that's a cute
No.
name. I think you're gonna have a boy though.
Yeah. I mean, maybe when this comes out, people will know that I'm pregnant. It's okay. It's okay. It's
Do we
fine.
just blow
Oh,
it?
shit.
Do you
No,
know
no, it's totally
Dimitri's
fine.
classic
Oh,
at
God.
this. He's always like,
No, because this is not going to
Exposing
air.
people.
That's an
it's,
edit.
It's not going to. It's not airing like
You
right
know-
away.
you know
It
my
doesn't matter
mom-
anyway.
My mom said, "Send me the link to the podcast today." She thought it was live. I'm like, "Do you know what a podcast is?" I think you have to edit it and cut shit
I'm
out and
gonna
stuff.
see if Nick and my amazing team can get this out like a little bit sooner, just because I'm so obsessed with you guys, and I think this is a good episode. Everyone's
Love
asking
it.
me about it.
oh my gosh, we're already
Just cut out
famous.
that announcement. I think I
No, it's
fucking
totally fine.
blew it.
I'm at the
Again,
point where
I blow
it's fine.
everything.
No,
It's like classic Dimitri move.
Jesus, I almost got our friends divorced actually once because one of them's Jewish and the other, my buddy's not Jewish, so he wanted to convert. Or
Well, she wanted him to convert.
she wanted him to convert, and he did.
Boy.
Yeah, and it was this whole thing. I'm like, "How's the conversion going?" And then
Wait, did you convert to Greek? Did you?
No,
Catholic still?
Catholic. Yeah.
Okay.
But we're
Well, you guys didn't
baptized
get
in
married in
Greek.
a Greek church, right?
No.
You didn't do the
No.
whole Greek thing. Okay.
No.
We did a job.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had a job.
Yeah.
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 Why
But
not?
we're gonna baptize him in the Greek church. I'm like,
Yeah.
he can't have this name, and you know,
No. Yeah.
he
He
has-
needs. He needs.
He needs
Are you doing it at St. George? Are you going to go to Greece? Or do you want to go to Greece?
That would be sick.
We
if
are
did
going
You could
to
do it
Greece,
twice.
We're going
actually.
to Greece
Yeah.
You
in
could do it
July.
twice.
Yeah, we're going in July, and we're bringing.
My kids
him.
are baptized
consider
twice. That's
that.
technically a no-no. I mean, I was baptized twice. My
Really?
mom is Catholic and my
Mhm.
dad obviously Greek Orthodox. So my we got baptized in both churches. So we
Oh,
did
nice.
I
Oh.
still went to like CCD and got like my communion and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
did the whole like dress thing, which I think is cute, and like the little boys in like the white
Yeah, yeah.
suit. So I feel like
Yeah,
we should
yeah.
do both. Like,
Double
Yeah.
dip. That's nice.
yeah,
You're the
and then
first I
it's
think
like
we've
both,
heard.
and then we
Yeah.
have 2 Easters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
I
sick
think
is
this
that?
year
Yeah, that's
Easter's
true.
the same day though.
Is it? It's
I
April
don't.
20th, I think, this year.
Is it?
Yeah, Greek Orthodox
Nick,
Easter.
can you look that up? I'm sorry.
Greek Easter
Greek
is
Easter,
like
Orthodox Easter,
That's
and
like the
they
Super
go
Bowl.
so hard.
Yeah.
You guys go hard. Like American Easter does not even come close.
My
to Greek
favorite
Easter.
holiday
got the
as a
Google
kid.
search.
My favorite kid
Nice.
as a holiday was Greek Easter.
Yeah,
every
April
year.
20th. It's
I don't know
still
if you
my
guys
favorite.
noticed, we pulled the pictures up of you guys from
Oh,
this
wow.
awesome,
Oh my
awesome
God.
experience.
I
And
love the one of the 3 of us with them
So
like holding him up like
tired.
he's a little football and like
No
no
one-
sleep for like 35 hours.
no one knows that we ate sushi so fast in that moment.
No,
Like,
that was it's the second we
Wow.
got to the postpartum room, the amount of sushi,
It was
we were
just,
just
like,
like shoveling it.
and
in
it
so
probably
fast.
could have been 3 times that, and we all would have just
It was
eaten
gone
It was
in
just
a
like none of
second.
us even cared at that point. It was like the Super Bowl. it really was. And I felt like there was a lot of cool signs with us.
Oh my
like-
gosh, yes.
Like there was all
Mhm.
these weird things. Like you meeted me through
Yes.
Chanel, cool sign.
Yes.
Like I didn't know about your bumblebee thing.
yes, so I'll just let
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So as I'm getting ready to push, Alexis is holding my leg up, and I look over at her. She took her.
I took my jacket off.
Her
and I had a
jacket
short
off.
sleeve shirt on.
She had a bumblebee. She has a bumblebee tattooed
I
right on her
do.
arm. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
So I look over, and they're like, "Okay, get ready to push." And I'm like, "What is that tattoo?" And
As she's ready to push,
I'm like,
guys.
I was like, "What is that?" And you were like, "It's a bumblebee." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "That's crazy." My grandmother would always come, like, we always use the bumblebee as a symbol for her. And she was like my best friend. And I have a bumblebee tattooed on my back.
And I had no idea. Mind you, I've
And-
seen this girl like half naked.
Mhm.
Didn't even notice that she had a bumblebee tattoo on her.
I was like, that is the craziest thing. And I just felt like it was a sign.
It was so
Mhm.
cool. Bumblebees are my favorite.
Yeah,
Hey, I
that's
love
what you
bumblebees.
said. I was
I was
like,
like, I love
why do you have that?
bumblebees.
You're like, I just love bumblebees. And I was like, oh my God.
I love bumblebees. And
yeah,
then
but it was like the
when-
coolest sign.
I don't know what it
Mhm.
was. I was just like, I want to get a bumblebee on me.
Yeah.
And then it was just like random. And then when you said that, I was like so weird. And
I
then
had chills. I was like, this is so crazy.
after you have the baby, we go to mom and baby unit. And then
Oh,
her
yeah.
room is 514, which is my birthday. And I was like,
yes. I
this
just
is
feel
so
like
crazy.
the amount of like we are like connected for life. Like
and then our
the 3 of us.
grandparents
Yeah.
are like friends. It was just so,
Yes.
it was so bizarre.
Just
He's
all
being
meant to
so
be.
good right now.
I know. I mean, can you do this at night at like 4 in the morning? That'd be great.
Yeah,
So what else do you guys think, like for next baby, do we think would have a doula for the next one? Or do
Oh,
you
yeah.
think that like, you know, you learned what you need to learn and then because some people say they do for the first one and then they're like,
Mhm.
the second one, I got it.
I
I think
I
we'd want
I-
to do it again.
I would do it again.
Yeah. See, I would.
Every birth is going to be different.
totally different.
I think.
I think just having that support, going back to what we said before, like
Yeah.
for both of us, like Sarah, obviously you guys communicate more, but when it gets to the point that you can't and you're in a lot of pain, you don't want to be texting, then the husband can really come in and
Yeah.
have someone to lean on to help his wife.
Because
So
you don't really know what to do.
I would have had no goddamn clue. I
We
would have been
would've went to the
Googling everything.
We
Yeah.
seriously would have been at the hospital for
And
like 2 days.
Google tells you the worst thing. So if you Googled
Yeah.
like water breaking and then like blood when you pee, they would have been like,
Says go to hospital
go
now.
to hospital
well,
right
no,
now.
and we
Yeah.
didn't even talk about this. I had my 37-week appointment
Oh,
that
yeah.
day at 4:00, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna call the doctor and just let them know.
Yeah.
So I called them. I was like, I don't know if you want me to come in earlier. Like, I think my water might have broken or something. And they were like, you need to go to the hospital right now.
Yeah, they don't even offer
This
to
was
take
at
you.
9 in the morning, and I ended up staying home till almost midnight.
Yeah, so you're like,
Yeah.
fuck you.
They're like, we're gonna
Click.
call Mount Auburn and let them know you're on your way. And I was like, okay. And then
We ghosted them.
I called you and I talked to Dimitri and I
Yeah.
was like, all right, I'm not going to the hospital. So then the
No.
doctors are like waiting there because they told
They think that we're coming.
They think we're coming. So at like 3:00 in the afternoon, I called the hospital. I was like, I'm not coming right now.
You're like, I'm fine.
I was like, I'm fine. But Mount Auburn was like, cool, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
We'll see you when we
They're
see you.
so chill.
Yeah, they
Like,
were so
they're-
chill. They were like, all right, do what you got. I was like, I have a doula. I'm all good. They were like, all right, do what you got to do. We'll see you later. I was
Mhm.
like,
See,
okay.
I love that because it gives you that confidence that you're not worried. Like you're not
Yeah.
doing anything wrong. You know, I
Yeah.
think that some people would not listening to like a doctor's advice. They'd be like,
It
are we
was
doing
hard.
the wrong thing. Like,
It
Yeah,
was
so it's
hard,
self-doubt.
honestly, to like work through that, to be like, oh, the doctor's telling me I need to go to the hospital.
yeah.
But like, in my intuition, and you are telling me to stay home. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna follow
Yeah,
my
because if
gut
you're
on that
not
one.
relaxed, like those rooms are not meant for you. So
Oh, they're
all
horrible.
labor and delivery rooms are pretty much set up like an ICU unit. Like
Right.
they're very sterile. I mean, poor
Okay.
dad. I know
Oh my
mom
God.
goes through a lot, but like they could upgrade the beds. They could give you a
Just
blanket.
gotta bite your tongue after what they
He
go
had to
through
use
though.
a bath towel. They could have
I
used a
know.
blanket.
And then they
Come
gave
on.
me a blanket, and I was looking at his towel, and I was like, "Fuck you right now." No, I was kidding. I almost gave it to him, but like, I think we only slept that one time though.
It
For
was
like
that
2,
one.
3
No, I think it was
hours,
an hour.
right?
I don't
Maybe
even
an
think it was.
hour.
It was
Really?
like
Yeah.
I think it was.
Well,
It
because
felt
like
like 3 hours.
after I got the epidural, well, I was still like progressing naturally, which was awesome. And
Yeah.
then they like came back in like an hour later, and they're like, "All right, like we're gonna start moving."
Well, I loved the shift change. What was her name? Kathy.
Kathy.
She was
love
a
Kathy.
goddess.
Money.
I hope that she hears this. She
Yes.
is the best labor and delivery nurse I have
She's
ever met.
Mm-hmm.
She's
so cool.
so cool. And she was just like, I loved that when I asked to check you, because that's what I didn't like about the first nurse, because I was like, why aren't we
Yeah.
checking to see like where you're at?
She
And
didn't check at all. Yeah.
And I understand there is I do agree with the least amount of cervical
Yeah.
checks in case for infection, like that reduces the risk. I love that.
Right.
Yep.
But when we're introducing like a medication, like doing an epidural, or if we need to give you some Pitocin, because that was the question, like, do we need to give you Pitocin
That was like my worst
to
fear.
get you to progress? And I said, hey, can we like check her out? And even though it is dependent on the provider, like, you know, their size, their hands, you know, to tell. The second she checked you out, she was like, no, you're rocking at an 8. Chill out. And we're
That's
just gonna
exactly
come
how
back.
she talked too.
She was like, yeah, we're
"All right."
rocking at an 8. We're just gonna like come back in a little while, and we're gonna meet a baby. We're gonna stop pushing. And
Yeah.
I was like,
When she yeah,
She was perfect.
she was perfect. And then
Yeah.
she came back, she like checked me again. She's like, "All right, we're gonna push." And I was like, "Now? We're pushing now?"
and you were so scared. I'm like, why are you
was
scared?
like,
This is
what?
gonna feel good because you're gonna be like pushing through.
Yeah.
Versus like, I feel like you almost like cower when
Yeah.
you're in that pain, and you kind of
Mhm.
get tight, and
Yeah.
when it's the opposite, and you're allowed to like relieve back and push down. And let's just talk about for a fact that this girl is like the best pusher ever.
Thank
She
you.
pushed like you're coachable.
I was like, I
you
am
might be
getting this baby
uncoordinated,
out.
but like
There
you're
we go.
coachable.
I'm coachable.
like I'm like, bear down like you're pooping, and she's like, what? I'm like, just do it. And
That's what
she-
you have to do. Nobody
Yeah.
tells you that, like, when you feel like you need to push, it's like you feel it in your butt.
You have to take a
okay?
huge
Yes.
shit.
Nobody tells you that.
You guys thought it was crazy. You're like, no,
I-
it's
I
not.
did.
You did. You
I
looked at
did.
me. You're like, it's not gonna feel like that. And
But
I'm like,
then your first push, you were like, and then Alexis was like, come on. And then fucking, and then it came off.
well, okay, so you have to like read the room, right?
Yeah.
So like for you, like
I need
she's
you to
like-
coach me.
I
Like,
needed her to like, she needed a coach. Like,
Yes.
she didn't need someone to be like, it's okay.
It's
well,
okay.
okay, so I go to
She doesn't
F45,
respond to that.
and that's what they do. They coach
Yell at
you. They
you.
yell at you. They're like, lift heavier. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
And she
So-
does it.
but
And I
you
was
did
like,
it.
okay. So at first I was like, okay, take a deep breath, like really push through this, like da 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 da. And then I was like, all right, this shit ain't working. I'm like, Sarah, let's go. Like you need to push down. And she got it. Like she did it. She
Yeah.
pushed for 45 minutes and this baby was out. That's ridiculous. The average is 4 hours.
Or how about when you told me, oh, stick your hand down there and feel his head? I was
Yeah.
like, are you nuts?
And you did.
and you did.
But I did it. I was
Well,
like, all right.
Because Kathy was like, yeah, she can do it. And I looked at him and I was like, let's do this. I'm like, go down and put your, mind you, like she has like this big pregnant belly, right? So she's like reaching over and then she's like, that's my baby. I'm like, that's your baby. Because
Yeah.
I figured like
But it helps.
it helps your mind.
Yeah,
like,
it
if
helps
you
your mind.
see, if you can like, because you obviously can't see it. They didn't have we didn't have a
They
mirror.
couldn't find the mirror.
They couldn't find the mirror.
Well, there was like babies popping off left and right. The
Yeah.
full moon.
yeah, it was the full,
Mhm.
everyone was having
Every 20 minutes,
babies.
we would hear a new baby crying in the
yeah, you'd hear
background.
the girl behind us.
Oh my
She's
God.
still laboring. She finally falls asleep. This girl behind goes, she pushes the call button because I could hear it from like, it's literally right behind her head. And she's like, I think the baby's head's out. 2 minutes later, you hear a baby crying. I was like, okay.
Oh,
like,
shit.
That's awesome. So we were having babies crazy there. We didn't have a mirror, but like I thought in my head, since like how coachable you are, if you could feel it or see it, it
Yeah.
would be like, this is real. I need to focus.
Mhm.
And it got you in this mindset where you just
Yep.
pushed and there was no, like you never let up to breathe. Like you just like, okay, I have
I was
to
like, I
push
got to
through.
do this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like purple. She was bright red and
Yes.
purple. But like, and you would never know because the picture, she looks like a freaking goddess. Like ridiculous. I did not look like that pregnant. I looked like a straight up Fiona from Shrek.
Stop.
I was. Oh my God. Now
Stop it.
225, rocking the giant nose, big face, fake tan, and looked like fucking Shrek. It was fine. I always get a spray tan before I have a baby.
I love that.
I know what's
Oh,
so
man.
stupid is when you go in, like when I went in, they put like leads all on me to like, I don't know why they were like checking a bunch of shit. So when they peeled them off, I had like polka dots because the spray tan pulled off.
Oh God.
So Rob, when he found out we're having a baby,
Stop.
he's like, so you getting a spray tan before? I'm like, absolutely. Gonna look like Snooki circa 10 years ago on
Snooki.
Jersey Shore. I'm gonna do it. Just cause I don't
Good
know,
old
it just makes
Snooki.
when you're tan, you feel better.
You do. And like we're
I'm
in,
gonna look like
we're in the
Shrek,
we're
I
in the
might as well.
trenches of winter right now. So a spray tan would have done me some good.
Yeah. We didn't have time.
No, we didn't have time. I had time
We
to
couldn't get our
do
nails
nothing.
done. I almost wanted to like bring nail polish. I was like, maybe I'll paint her
I
nails.
know I didn't get my nails done.
No.
Hair appointment, nothing.
I had none of my cute
time.
doula shit.
I know.
I was just like, all right.
He just
we're-
decided that he was ready for some reason. After we made the birth plan Monday, he was like, "All right, they have their birth plan
Yeah, we have
Tuesday.
it,
I'm
yeah.
ready
Thank
to
God
go."
for that. Thank God we got that done.
And the meeting
Yeah.
was cool. I think that some doulas, like, they stick it to like this 30-minute Zoom call. I mean, I came to your house and like we just hung out for like 6 hours.
I know.
Yeah.
We just hung out. We were like, okay, like this is what our plan is to do. Like, we're gonna do this. And then I think you had like Googled like some questions or something. Like
Yeah, just like stuff about like
the shots.
vaccines, which is also like a good discussion to have because
Yeah.
again, the OBs and midwives, they don't tell you.
How did you guys
anything,
feel about
so-
like your experience with the medical system when it came to like vaccinations?
Oh my god.
And how
Well,
where you guys just give us where you guys stand and then how it was.
So basically every appointment we would go to for my pregnancy, they would push vaccines on you every single time you go. So they want you to get the COVID, the flu, RSV, hepatitis B.
Every appointment.
I think there might have been another one.
And these are all for
too.
you.
These are all for me.
Sarah.
And they tell me that I need to do this because it will pass immunity to the baby. But in our research, we're like, I don't think the Tdap was the other one.
Mhm.
So there's like 5
Mhm.
shots they want you to get while you're pregnant.
Yeah.
So we decided against all of them during my pregnancy. And
I
then
was
when
like, yes.
yes.
Mhm.
And honestly, like I never thought about it, but once you do some research, you
Mhm.
can kind of find where you stand. Everybody has a different
I think
view.
I think for you too, which kind of makes it easier, is the timing of your baby. Because right now we're in
Mhm.
this weird political climate where like RFK is really talking about vaccine safety.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
you also have someone who's a large figure that's like, hey,
Bringing awareness.
bringing
Yeah.
awareness to a
Mhm.
situation that you may not even know. So the doctors are pushing you to get this. And how is
Every
it
time.
going when you're like, what was the interaction between
I would
them
get
and you?
so worked. Ask Dimitri. Like I
We
would.
both feel like we're going to war every time we
every
had an OB
appointment.
appointment
I
because
would
we knew the
text-
question was coming.
Yeah, I would text Alexis, be like, "Oh, I'm so anxious. Like, I have to," because you
Mhm.
turn down the vaccine that
Yeah.
they're recommending. The RSV one was the one that would make me the most upset because it just came out like maybe a year ago,
And it's already recalled.
and yeah, it's already recalled. The amount they
Yeah.
push that one on you is crazy.
And all they say is we're very excited it's a new vaccine.
Yeah,
so
that's-
we're like, okay, that's great and all, but like that's not good enough for the health of my wife and my child, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So we would say no, and then they look at you like you're gonna like kill your baby if you don't get this
Yeah.
vaccine.
It's scary.
And the amount of judgment that gets pushed off, like you kind of feel like crap, like
Yeah.
because the way they look at you, they're like, oh, like okay,
And we're not anti-vaxxers.
no, we're not.
I mean, honestly, 6 months ago when I initially brought it up, I think I watched Candace Owens' podcast. We had
Mhm.
talked
I
about
told
it.
you guys
Shot in the dark.
Yeah,
Sarah was like completely like, oh, like honestly, you're like, you're
I
an
was.
anti-vaxxer, like you're crazy.
I
like, we're gonna
started
do all
calling
of
him
them.
crazy. I'm like, you're crazy, like blah blah blah. Like we're totally gonna get every vaccine that they offer us because that's like what
the
you're
right thing to
that's what you're supposed to do, and
But
that's
that's
what
all you know.
everyone tells you. And the second you question it, then people think you're crazy.
And it's always the same answer when you're like, why do I want to do that? And you're like, they're like, oh, well, this is what's recommended.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the
There's
schedule.
no other answer.
They don't have
It's
a good
just-
answer.
They don't.
It's a gray kind of like random answer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're just left with, but why?
Mhm.
Yes.
And we
And
refused the Hep B shot when Leo was born. That's like immediately after they're born. We did the vitamin K shot. He got circumcised.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I
It needs
mean-
the bleeding to stop. We didn't do
The eye
the
ointment.
eye ointment that they want to just goop on his eyes the second
Yeah.
they come out. So
And,
we didn't know any of this. Honestly, we had talked about it before.
yeah, and Mount Auburn was really cool with
They
it for
were
you. I
really
think they were
cool.
better than your OB
Oh,
initially.
yeah. My
Yeah.
OB's my OB is great. She's really nice. But like,
By the book.
but by the book, just
that's
classic
fine.
MD. And she said to me too, when I was like, oh, I'm hiring a doula, she's like, that's great because that's not my job, basically.
Isn't that sad,
She's
though?
like, that's not my job to like coach you through your birth.
My job as
Yeah.
your doctor isn't to care for you
It's-
during your
she
pregnancy.
Yeah.
basically
just
admitted
to
it.
Sad.
recommend.
Yes.
And that's where I think medicine loses people
Mm-hmm.
because they have such a big patient load. They have all of these things going on and they don't have that ability to care for you
Yeah.
because there's just all of this stuff, right? And then they find someone like, oh, a doula is going to help take care of you. Okay, great. And it's like, I don't have to worry
See
about
you
it
at the end.
anymore.
Yep.
Yes.
You know?
So they like encouraged he's squirming around. They like she encouraged the doula, which I was happy about. Like she didn't like
Yeah.
frown upon me, and I'm like, okay, that's good. But with the shots, yeah, they just really like.
I think what's bizarre to me is that there's not more questioning of it. I
No,
mean,
if
even
you
when I had
question
my
it,
kids,
it's-
like, you do what the system and you do what you're told because you think that they have your best interest. And when you learn that they actually don't
right.
have your best interest, I think that's when the conversation gets like really scary for people. And now you're going to be doing the hardest job that you've ever had to do. And you defended him before he came out because you're
Mhm.
defending yourself and you're saying that I don't feel this is safe for me and my family.
Right.
And now you're going to have to defend him the rest of his life because now you're up against the school system.
You're up against.
You're up against, you're going to
yep.
climb an uphill battle. It's going to be difficult, but I'm telling you in the end, even in my small practice downstairs, like the parents of kids that get vaccinated versus unvaccinated, I know YouTube's probably going to get all pissy about this.
They're gonna take it down immediately.
No, you have to I think you have to bleep out the word. What is it? Bleep out the word vaccine now, Nick?
No, it's mostly about COVID. You have to.
Oh, okay.
I'll cut that out now, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, whatever. But they want to shove that shit in your kids too now.
Yep.
But I think like you just need to have a plan because you're gonna fight this uphill battle. And it's just the beginning. Like it's gonna get it gets crazy.
But if it's important, we'll fight through that. If it's important to us,
And
you're
the hardest
you
thing
also
is,
have a really good pediatrician though too.
Oh my God.
Time out.
Yeah.
She came to her house.
She came to my house.
First visit at the
so
house.
we
Love
wanted to
that.
get out of the hospital. We wanted to get out of Dodge. Like we were like, get us out of
If
here.
you could have got
Yeah.
out right after you had that baby
Oh,
and I could have
I
brought you
would've
guys
went
home, I
home.
would have done it.
I would have went home. Like I did not want to be there. But
Yeah.
we stayed for 24 hours. And after 20, and all you want to go home? Like
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I want to go home. They were like, most first
I
time
wanna
moms do
shower.
not want to go home like this early. I was like, I want to get out of here.
I signed an AMA. I was like, peace
Yeah,
out. 24
peace
hours after
out.
a C-section. Bye.
Yeah, I was like, get me out of here. So then,
Oh, I think
the-
someone's hungry.
oh, he's probably getting hungry. Do you want to take him out and just hold him maybe? For a
You can
second?
plop him on. You
Yeah.
can just block it. We can just cut it out. Yeah, he was born 6 pounds, 2
2
ounces.
ounces.
So
Hello, little girl.
look at how tiny.
That's a stinker, bro. Already starting
Oh,
to smell.
it's okay.
There he is.
Look at little Leo.
Leonidas.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
He's
so-
just so cute.
Yeah, when he came home, he was 5 pounds, 13 ounces. He was a little nugget. None of his clothes fit him.
I
He's
told
so
you, buy
small.
preemie stuff. But
I
that
know.
was before when we thought we were having a baby like on time and
Yeah.
not early.
Exactly.
He's getting chunky though. He's
He's bulking. Yeah, he's bulking. But yeah, the pediatrician. So she came to the house because they were like, you can only go home after 24 hours if you see the pediatrician the next day.
Yeah.
So she came to my house and brought a scale. She brought the whole thing. It was so
That's
cool.
amazing.
And she's
I
just the
actually just
best.
called her because I need to switch
Oh.
Olivia and Sophia. So come to find out, you actually don't own your medical records. Did you guys know this?
No.
So they're on this new thing called Share Chart.
Let me
And that's how he's probably just hungry.
yeah, he might be.
It's okay.
I can
bud.
just pop
I
him
wish I
on
could
quick.
help.
See, I love that. This is my favorite. See, we just latch
Back
the baby
at
on
it.
and then we're good to go. Like,
Yeah, you just
I
gotta
think that-
do what you gotta do.
I think that the great thing, and that was cool that you guys were open with breastfeeding too. Because
Oh,
some
yeah.
people are like so anti, like, I don't want to breastfeed. I don't want to take the time out.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do. I think that you welcomed it and you were like a champ at
He
it.
literally like breastfeeding is scary. Okay.
It
like, and I don't
is.
blame people for being like, and I was nervous about it. I was like, oh, I even packed my own formula to bring to the hospital.
Yeah, 'cause
I
they give-
packed an organic formula with
Yeah.
grass fed because I was like, this shit they give them in the hospital is like poison.
It has lead and arsenic in it.
Yeah.
Enfamil has
It's
heavy metals in
disgusting.
it.
So I packed my own formula because I heard so many people say like, oh, the baby might not latch or like he might have
Yeah.
problems. So I was like, oh, if he has problems, I don't want them giving him that formula. But he just was a little champ, 6
Yeah.
pounder. He was 6
And
pounds and
the
he
cool
just,
thing
you know,
about like your body and breast milk is that it changes to whatever the baby
Yeah.
needs.
Mhm.
So like if you're getting a cold or like that, those antibodies go to the baby. Like it's so crazy how cool and how intuitive our body is and in tune with like when you're having a baby. It's so natural.
Yep.
I think that we're taking away that natural aspect out of a lot of it by focusing on these interventions and all these things when if we just dialed it back a couple hundred years.
Yeah, like they used to do
Like
it.
they used to do. Like
Yeah.
my
Come
yaya had a
here.
baby in her house.
here.
Like
Yeah,
my
they didn't have
grandparents
any of
were all
this shit.
born in a
Come here.
house.
Yep.
Sorry, he
They used to
fell
be in
off.
caves
okay.
even before that.
In fields.
In fields, yeah.
Our yaya's are like in olive groves, just like popping out kids.
Just
Like,
to get
Yeah.
olive leaf and clean up,
Literally.
and
yeah,
that's
just
it.
like
Boom.
done, But it's true when we've gone in society so far where, yeah, medical advancements have definitely helped, the mortality rate of women dying
Mhm.
during childbirth is significantly lower now,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But I also think, what about maybe the numbers are kind of skewed with all the interventions that we're doing? Are we losing people because we're doing interventions?
Almost
I
too
feel like
many.
yeah, like I want to know like kind of how those numbers lie, but
Yeah. Well, the
I-
U.S. is ranked like in the bottom for like developed countries for maternal,
health.
I don't know, health and birth.
Yeah, we have
and-
a very high, scary high rate
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now, especially in women of color, which is, I think,
Yeah.
a crazy fact. But just because it's just wild that we're still at that point.
We shouldn't
and
be.
I think
as
it's
a country.
ridiculous. I
Yeah.
think that we need to take more care. I also think that here, like you had this baby, right? And did your OB be like, hey, how you doing? No one calls you.
I have not
Mhm.
talked to them.
You'll talk to her when he's 6 weeks
The
old.
6-week appointment.
And know
Yeah.
what they'll say
Yeah.
to you? Great. I'm glad you're not bleeding anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what kind of birth control do you want? And you're like, I'm not thinking of
No.
doing it right now.
Yeah.
Like what?
Literally.
It's a good point. I
Like
didn't,
it's
yeah.
not there's no like
There's no
care and postpartum. I think that's what also needs to change. I mean, I think the great thing about having a doula too is I was like, we came to your house, we tried to
Oh,
see
that was
how
the
you
best.
guys were
That
doing.
day was
We
great.
Okay,
we
that day was
swaddled the baby,
awesome.
showed you how to swaddle, fixed your
Yep.
latching. You had that support. It significantly decreases the chances
Yeah.
of you having postpartum. It significantly decreases the chance of you guys fighting because now you're on the same page. You kind of can see
Mhm.
how to help each other out.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have that, you'd just be like left to the wolves and like
100%. And also it's not like after I gave birth that you just like disappeared. It's like
No.
I
You
text
still
you
text
all
me
the
now.
all
You
the
checked
time.
in even more, yeah, after, which
I
is
was
great.
like,
how we're
hey,
doing.
how are we feeling? Like,
Yeah. So you still
what's
have the
going
support.
on?
I'm sure a lot of doulas are the same. They don't just cut you off. Like,
Yeah, I don't know any of them that just like cut you off, but
Yeah.
I mean, but imagine like someone who didn't have a doula that's just waiting for their OB to check in and like no one's
They won't.
nobody
We
no
haven't heard-
one's gonna call in. No
I didn't
one's
even think
you know
about
what's
that.
funny is they made me a 2 appointment 2 weeks. So when I was in the hospital, they obviously found out I gave birth, and then they made me an appointment for 2 weeks after, and then 6 weeks after. Then the day of the 2-week appointment, they called me. They were like, "Oh, like you did a postpartum screening online. It's like they ask you questions like, how are you feeling, like whatever." So I filled out the form. It was like a pre-visit update, and then they were like, "Oh, we can cancel your 2-week appointment. Like it looks like you're not depressed, so we'll see you at week 6."
Can you imagine being a mom
It's
that's
like-
like maybe you're in a good spot at that moment
Yeah.
that you answered it.
Then the
But
next day,
the
like,
next day
shit
you're
goes
just
down.
like imagine like how tired you guys were.
Mhm.
Like it takes a lot to take care of a baby.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're just gonna be here's my questionnaire. Do you feel safe today? Sure.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. What if you clicked that by accident and
yeah,
you
what if you
actually
click the
in
wrong
danger?
one and you're
Yeah.
actually scared? I
Yeah.
think that people, I mean, there's obviously a huge difference between like postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and then just like being
Yeah.
a new mom.
Right.
Mhm.
But I think that we would be able to decrease a lot of these problems if there was more support available. Other countries like Italy, Japan, literally anywhere else in the world, they have a better system for women.
Yeah.
I mean, in Italy, you have a 1 full year paid off.
Oh my
Mhm.
God, imagine.
You in America, 12 weeks?
12. Well, I get 12 and everybody's like, that's amazing. I don't even think that's like
crazy
not enough
to
standard.
time.
me.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's enough.
I think you can take more through the state, but
You can do paid family medical
yeah,
leave, and you
it
can do that.
overlaps with, so if your company is doing some,
Yeah,
that whole system is also very confusing.
yeah. It's
Working out the the medical leave has been like
how
the
much
most
leave
confusing
did you
thing.
get from work?
As
Incredible.
myself,
Yeah,
I got 12 weeks,
that's
which is
amazing.
a lot for
Full
a dad.
pay,
dad.
12 weeks. That's
Yeah.
like not normal.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I'm gonna answer this only because it's
Chickens.
Mari Leckel. I am
It's
doing
Mari.
a podcast right now with our two favorite people. I know. Why don't you come this week? When you stop doing overnights. Oh, whatever, brat. All right, well, I'll call you later when I'm done.
What?
In Vegas.
Right. She's training doulas in Vegas.
I love her.
She's an animal.
You guys are
You guys, I
no,
can't keep
you
up.
two like are insane.
Like,
Actually,
I feel like you're gonna tell us you're running for Senate next
Yeah.
year. Be like, oh, okay. It's fucking
Do you know
great.
what's funny? Speaking
Nothing
of
would
running
surprise
for
me
things,
anymore.
so before I got crazy busy and we opened the studio, I was really mad about local politics. So I thought I literally signed
No
up to run
way.
for select board in North Reading because they wanted to spend
Stop.
stupid money on these like dumb programs. And so I like went gung ho to start it and then realized how many meetings that they have to have.
Is it
And like
insane?
how pointless. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try a committee first. And I tried youth services committee because I feel like I'm super involved with kids. So I
Mhm.
wanted to see like what that looked like. And I tried transportation because there's like no transportation in North Reading for elders because we're in the MBTA kind of area, but we don't get the ride. So the oldies don't have any way to get to their appointments if they
Yeah,
don't drive,
It's
right?
sad.
So I tried it and the youth services it was disgusting. They were fighting more about like program attendance than they were having like these 50-year-olds. I was the youngest person being 30 and the youngest person in the room
Mm.
deciding on what programs are important for kids today.
oh my god,
I'm like, why wouldn't we just ask the kids in school?
Yeah. You think, right?
Wow.
Why would you know what I mean? Like you would think like we do
Yeah.
that. I don't think the politics is set up correctly
No,
for kids, like in support or things for moms or parents. I
No.
think that we're kind of like meant here to just like have kids, pump them into school, pump them back into work, and just
100%.
like
Daycare, have someone else like raise them as
yeah. And you guys
infants,
know, like
yeah.
I'm one of those moms that's like I'm doing everything I friggin' can because after my kids are in this little cute little
Yep.
in-home daycare with a family member, like I want to homeschool my kids,
Yeah.
and like
Yes.
that's the goal. I mean,
Mhm.
I think that your goals change. I mean, especially you're not like an attorney,
Yep.
right? You have a big job. You're a med device rep. I bet it wasn't in your plan to be a stay-at-home mom at some point.
No.
Never.
It's always been like, I'm going to have this career. And I think
Yes.
that mindset for you might change, especially if you have a
Mhm.
second baby, because you're going to say, hey, like,
100%.
I don't want them. I mean, you were going to put them in daycare. Now you're going to have a
We're-
nanny at the
yes,
house.
we were like, oh yeah, daycare. Like, what else are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
And now we're looking into nannies just because I work from home, and I'm like, at least that's a way I can still kind of be around
And you can breastfeed still.
and breastfeed, and it just would be like, I think, way better for him.
Yeah,
At
and then you
least
can
until he's
see
a little
what's going
older.
on. And then you
Yeah.
can see what's going on. I think for me, the only reason why my kids are in the little daycare that they're in
It's
now is
good,
because it's
though.
a family friend and it's only 5 people.
And
5
it's-
little kids
It's good
together.
for them to
Mhm.
socialize, when they get a little older.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree. Like, yes and no. I feel like my kids, when they're outside, but I
Yeah.
also have farm kids. So, like, my
No,
kids are,
I
like,
love-
outside chasing chickens and shit.
I love
like,
when I text Alexis and say, do you have any eggs? Because there's no freaking eggs at the grocery store right now. I don't know what
I'm
is
like
going
the
on.
local egg
And she
dealer.
goes, yeah, the girls will get home from school and collect the eggs. I'll let you know how many we get. I'm like, I love that you put them to work. Like,
Well,
come
they
on, girls,
want
go
to.
collect the eggs.
They want to. Like, they get so pissed if Rob and I collect them. They're like, wait, we're going to
I
go
love
home and
it.
collect eggs. Like, today I have to work a little bit later. So they're going to hang out with my mom and, like, visit my grandparents and stuff. And they're, like, sad. They're like, but if we go to Mamay's house, like, we're not going to collect eggs. And I'm like, no, like, Daddy is going to have to get them. Because, like, you're
Yeah.
not going to be there. And they're like, oh.
They
Like,
love to collect
They have like a
eggs.
little egg bag and it has like little slots in it.
That's
and
so
they
cute.
collect all
It's
their little
adorable.
eggs and they love the
It's so
quail
good for
eggs.
them.
And it's something for them to do that doesn't involve screens. And like we said
Yes.
before, like you can try all these. A lot of people are just like anti-screens or they're like they give the kid an iPad at 2 years old. I don't
Mhm.
believe in the iPad at 2 years old. We don't
Leo's
have
not
iPads.
gonna know
We
what an
don't either.
iPad is.
We
And
don't have an
everyone,
i-
whenever I say that, I'm like, oh, he's not going to know what an iPad is.
they
So he's like,
laugh.
they laugh. They're like, yeah, you're going to have to throw him in front of the iPad at some point. And I'm like, no, it's when you decide what's like important to you.
Mhm.
And that's important to us. So it might be a little harder. It's
gonna be
definitely
on it, but, like,
easier to
oh,
just
what?
stick him
Because
in
you have
front of
to
the iPad.
parent your kid.
Yes. You have to
They have to
occupy them.
play?
Yes.
Wow. Like when I was a kid, my mom was like, "Get your ass outside," and like,
Well, that
when
was how we were raised.
Like,
Like our generation, we
go
spent so much time
play.
outside.
we played manhunt all the time.
All night.
Yes. So
just like
different
all the
now.
time, and like
Yep.
kickball. Like I
Yeah.
was like the kickball queen. Like it
Yeah.
was like the best thing ever. But
Yep.
these kids don't know how to do that. So
No.
that's why I got into like the farm life, was because I wanted them to be busy. I wanted them to have a responsibility. Like my kids love their bunnies. I'm like, great, you have to feed them and water them every day. I'm not doing it.
That's great.
They need to learn
And every
responsibility.
day, they're
Yeah.
little girl bunnies. They take the hay and they put it in.
That's so
Like I have
cute.
one daughter that's 3 and one that's 2. Like I mean, obviously, I'm like checking to make sure these animals aren't dying. Like they're fed, they're fine. You know, like they feed my
Yeah.
dogs. You know, like 6 scoops of food a day.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's
not
just starting those
hard.
good habits when they're young.
Yeah, like I make
Yeah.
them make their bed in the morning.
It's
I
great.
make them do that. I'm
Little
like, you have to make
militants.
your bed.
I love it.
Like, you have to do it. And they're like, why, mommy? And I'm like, monsters go on your bed if you don't make it. And she's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, you don't want monsters in there. She's like, monsters can't go in there, mom. And like, she's like dead serious.
That's great.
But and I know that's probably mean. Like, I'm going to get parenting hate for that. But like,
no.
it teaches them something.
They
It's
need to,
different.
yeah.
I think that like, especially now, like you're going to be on TikTok and you're going to see all these like parenting advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
I
like,
can't wait for the comments.
I feel like I'm gonna like just continue to text you to be like, hey, did you watch this meme?
I cannot wait. Let's
Like-
go.
Like, there's so many of these things that like
There's
on
so
the
many
internet are
things.
so wild.
Do you know how
Yeah.
many traps we've fallen in since he's been born about like products you need for an infant and all these things?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Mhm.
there's so much like advice out there but everybody has like their own,
I'm
you know.
like, they're fine.
Everyone has
Yeah.
an opinion, and it seems like we slowly get in our own routine, like just
Yeah.
the 2 of us, and figure it out. So
It's cool when you get that moment where it's like you guys are sleeping, the baby's sleeping, and everything's quiet in the house, and you're like, we did it.
and we looked at each other when the first time that happened, and we said, "I think we're ready for a second one."
I know.
Yeah.
Swear to God, we're like,
We
we can do
did.
this again.
Everyone asked, they're like, oh, like
You are very
Are you gonna
fertile
have-
right now, just so you know. So
Yeah.
be careful, buddy.
yeah, I know. I don't want to
We're
end
gonna
up
be
with
careful.
like you
So,
with the
okay,
2.
so 2
Like-
under
Be
2
careful.
in the beginning, I'll be honest, it's really hard, right?
I don't know if I
Because
could do it.
I mean, I did it. I sometimes I say the same thing. I don't know if I can do it, but like
Yeah.
I did it, and let me tell you now,
I know.
I love it.
It's
even
really-
though they fight like
yeah.
legit jujitsu on the floor and like beat the shit out of each other, but they love each other.
Yeah.
Like it's all like Olivia's like, where's Sophia? Or like Olivia's like, where's Olivia? Like, where is she? And I'm like, she's over there. She's
That's
like,
so
okay,
cute.
I know where she is. Like,
It's a built-in best friend.
yeah, and they might fight, but they always like check in with each other. And now it's like super cute. Like I'm sure when they're older, they'll fight about clothes and like all the other things. But at least like if I take one out, the
Yeah.
other one's pissed. Like you would think that like they're alone time, because I'm like, maybe I should spend time with them like
They're basically
individually.
twins.
Yeah, and they just love to be like, they can't sleep in separate rooms. They have
Yeah,
to be in the same
that's
room.
so
They're in
cute.
bunk beds now, and Olivia's like, I look down and make sure she's in her bed. And I'm like, okay.
That's
Like,
so cute.
So I don't say don't do it.
just need a little more time.
Just
Just a little
I think
time.
That, like,
Little
I think
time.
that, like a little time. Like I feel like in some ways I feel like I robbed Olivia of like that like moments with just her, because then I had Sophia and I was so sick that like I
Yeah.
couldn't really like
hmm
take care of them. I felt like I wasn't being a good mom. But you get over that, and then you're like, wow, these kids are so cool.
Yeah.
And they love you, and they're just playing.
Yeah.
So I don't say don't do it. It's hard, but like,
You get through it.
You get
yeah,
through
You
it.
get
I
through
feel
it.
like whatever life throws at you, you kind of just like get
Yeah.
through
Just
it
like,
anyway.
let's deal. How are we gonna deal with it? You
we
know?
definitely.
But I'm so down for baby number 2.
Yes, we
I'm
want
so
baby number
down.
2. We're not like, that's the other thing. Like I think a lot of people, they have the first one. We've talked to other people who they're like have the first one, and the newborn phase is terrifying. The labor
Yeah.
is terrible, and they're just like,
But they don't have a doula.
no, and they don't. And then they're like, oh, I need time. And then they don't even want to think about having a second one.
That's so
We were
sad to
home
me.
like maybe 2 days after the hospital, and we're like, I can't wait to have more. Like,
Yeah.
because we had such a good experience, you know?
You had such a good experience, you guys, and you're also very healthy too, though, right? So you
We
don't have
take
any
care
like
of ourselves.
helps.
you guys are
Yeah.
very fit and very healthy. So I think that that goes to say for something like that's to be said too is like
Mhm.
you guys are really into taking care of yourself. So it is going to be easier for you. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
your bounce back is going to be easier. I hope you're not working out yet.
No, I'm
She's
not,
not.
but
She
it's
really
freaking
wants to,
killing
but-
me.
We could do like cute like yoga stuff.
You know, the worst part is that you can walk, but I can't walk because it's 5 degrees outside.
Yeah,
every
and
day.
icy, and you might like
And
eat it
icy,
in Revere.
yeah. But
Skating down those hills.
I'm counting down the days, 3 more weeks, and then I'll be cleared to go back to the gym. I can't wait. But I honestly think that all those things together with the doula, staying active my whole pregnancy, like
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, it's hard. Like in the beginning, you're tired, you're so exhausted in the beginning of your pregnancy. But if you could just like push through that and stay active, at least like walking or just, you know,
Do something.
doing
20 minutes
something.
a day. I tell all my clients 20 minutes is
I think
all you
that's-
need.
Mhm.
20, 30 minutes.
You're-
If you can do 40, that's what I'd
Yes.
prefer you at. But
Yeah.
like if you can do 40 minutes a day of some sort of like cardiovascular
Yes.
activity, whether it's walking, doing like squats, using your own
Yep.
body weight, like whatever it is, lifting,
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah.
whatever's within your healthy range, do it.
Well, 100%. I tell everybody that because I'm like, you are training for like the biggest like physical event that you
In your
life, like because
Mhm.
it is not easy. You can't just like show up to birth. You're gonna have a harder time if you're not
Mhm.
exercising
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
eating right and taking care of yourself than if you are. So
I think people look at it like, oh, I have this craving and I need to eat and I need to do all
Yes.
this. And they gain all this weight. I mean, for me, I gained a boatload of fluid weight.
yeah,
I was 225 pounds. I was a friggin'
that is
water
insane
balloon.
because you're so
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah,
like
Gross. I remember I'd like poke my skin and it would just like stay in. And I'm like, this is disgusting. And like I thought I was preeclamptic. I was like, do I preeclampsia? Is this why I'm holding this? Like I wasn't. I just like
Yeah.
was a water balloon, like whatever.
Just a genetic thing. I
Yeah,
guess.
like I don't know what it
Everyone's
was for
different.
me, but like for me, it was just like walking and doing as much as I could
you have
helped.
to.
But like postpartum, like you need to keep moving,
You
Mhm.
need to.
and
it's
I think
hard.
it's good for your mental health.
It is. He's had to force me a couple times. To, like I would take the dog for a walk because sometimes I'm like, I don't want to leave my baby. Like it's honestly
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, you get that
Your
attachment.
instincts. And I'm like, I can't even go for a 15-minute walk without like feeling anxious being away from him. And it's such a strange
Yeah.
feeling, but it's so good. Like I'm so happy. He was like, just go for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, go for a
outside.
walk. Why? Am I fat? What? How fat am I?
Yeah.
Asshole. Go get fresh air.
Exactly. That's
Yeah, that's
literally,
literally how it
exactly
goes.
what I would tell
Yeah.
Rob. I'd be like,
I'm like,
do
why
I
are you-
look big today?
Yes.
Is it what I'm wearing?
I'm scared. I'm scared
And
to
then
buy the treadmill.
you instantly like kind of suck it in. You're like, am I
I'm like,
good?
yeah. I'm like, okay. But he honestly it was more for like mental health, like take 10 minutes to yourself, get some fresh air, just move a little bit. And like, it's good. Like
It's
I
good to
should be
get out.
doing that.
You never regret it when you go.
No.
Yeah.
So, but it's not easy.
Well, I'm so glad that you guys are where
Yes.
it came in today, and I hope that we can have you guys come back and we'll do
Anytime.
anything fun. But tune in, guys. Follow us, subscribe, all the things at Real Aesthetic Pod on Instagram, and we'll see you guys next week.
Next station, Norfolk. Interchange station, Winterfell.